All right. All right. So welcome to Let's Talk Music Business, the Managers Edition. We've got managers on the line, and we also have an artist. So we'll be hearing from all of them. I'm Beezy Baby, former radio personality with Hot 1039, also television personality and author, and a whole lot of other stuff. So I'm just glad to be here today. Thank you guys for having me. I'm going to introduce every one of our panelists, and then they'll tell you a little bit about who they are and what they do, how you can get familiar with them, and also where they have come in contact with their name or their brand in the community. So first, is Stunna on the line? Is the panelist here?
He's not here yet, no.
Okay, so we'll go to So-So. SoSotheplug, what's up? How are you? Tell everyone who you are, what you do, and how they can get to know you.
Hey everybody, my name is So-So, aka SoSotheplug. I do radio, internet radio, the SEB show every Wednesday. I'm an artist manager, curator. I have some independent artist showcases, one up in Greenville, South Carolina, which is all genres, and then one in Atlanta called Soul Food ATL, which is primarily R&B crowd. Yeah, that's it. You can find me, SoSotheplug, on everything, or SoSotheplug.com, and I'll follow back, and I try to answer all the DMs and emails.
All right. While we're still getting to know all the panelists, thank you, So-So, for that. If you're not talking, can you put your phone or your camera, your device on mute? So everybody that's not going to be speaking, when I call on you or when you're getting ready to talk, just take it off mute. It's easy. It's down in the left corner of your computer or your phone. So just if you'll put it on mute, that way anything you got going on in your background doesn't affect what's going on here. All right. So next up, I see he's in the building. Stunna, 5-Star Empire. How are you? Introduce yourself. Tell everyone what you do. And
what up? I go by Stunna, CEO of 5-Star Empire. I do it all, man. From top to bottom. I manage a record label and manage other artists as well.
All right. Next up is Root Runner. Tell us who you are, what you do, how we can get familiar with who you are as a brand. Is he not here? Okay, it's okay. Moving on to John Griggs. Hello, I see you. I know you're here. Tell us who you are, more about yourself, how they can get familiar with who John Griggs is and what you do.
Hey, y'all doing? My name is John Griggs. I'm from Meridian, Mississippi. I manage an upcoming R&B sensation and Josh Waters, an upcoming producer in hood music. And outside of doing that, I help A&R at the band with the label in Atlanta under Willpower. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter under _Griggs.
All right. We're going to get to Kimani Davis now. I don't think he has a video up, but I'm sure we can still hear him. He's an artist, and he'll tell you more about his career and who he is and what he's doing now.
Yeah, I'm having a little, what I'm not is technical with this Zoom right now, trying to get my camera working. But yeah, my name is Kimani Davis. I'm actually been doing hip hop music for quite a while. My rap name is Casino. I was signed to Jive Records and Rough Riders Entertainment. I was on such albums as DMX's It's Dark and Hell is Hot, the Rush Hour soundtrack, Blade soundtrack, Corrupted soundtrack, the Locks, We Are the Streets. Done a lot of the mixtapes, K Slade, DJ Clue. But I'm also the owner of a record label, Livewire Entertainment, which we actually started in the year 98, 99. I did music for a while. I was incarcerated for a while, so now I'm like back out and mostly been trying to help other artists get their career started. So we got a few artists right now that we're working with trying to get back into the industry.
All right, thank you for that. And last but not least, the woman that put this whole thing together, Miss Jones. Tell everyone who you are and where this idea came from.
Hey everybody, again, my name is Mrs. Jones, CEO of Real Life Music, also your artist consultant, and thank you all to all the panelists and everybody that's joined in. And this idea came from just me wanting to educate artists and entrepreneurs in general about music business education, business education in general. So that's where the idea came from. And originally we would get together at a venue and network and talk to someone who specializes in a specific industry or part of the industry, whether it be YouTube, Spotify, producers or engineers. And now, due to the situation, we're doing Zoom, but I want to make sure that I'm always providing great content. And I thank you, BZ, for coming on and hosting today.
Thanks for having me. I think this is a really dope thing before we get into the questions, just because there are so many independent artists that have the talent, and maybe a really quality artist, but really don't know the business side of things. So to have this kind of information at their fingertips where people like you can give them information and kind of help them get into the music business, because it's one thing to have talent, but you got to have that work ethic and know what you're doing as well. So thanks for putting this together, and thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you.
We're going to get into the questions, and as I ask them, just kind of beware of other people talking. So if you hear somebody talking, just kind of fall back until they're done, because it can start sounding kind of crazy if everybody jumps on at once. Kimani, we're not able to see you, so you're gonna have to do your due diligence with being extra loud if you get ready to talk, because we're not able to tell that you're talking just by watching you. So the first question that I have for you: how has COVID-19 impacted you, your business, and your artists? So?
Well, I'll speak on that real quick. It hurts. It put a damper on everything that you kind of like plan to do, because I'm pretty sure with most artists, putting the music out is cool, but the exposure, the networking, you know, and what COVID did was kind of like shut all that down with the whole networking. It started out with the whole, you know, no more than 10 people. And then, you know, that started getting scary. So it's like, what can you do to get that exposure? You know, because nobody wants to be irrelevant during these times. But so it really put a real damper on everything, as far as, you know, I'm concerned. And, you know, I'm a person that do shows as well. So, you know, just shut everything down, and, you know, deposits held up. So it's just crazy for me.
Anybody else want to add to that?
So for me, for my showcases, it completely shut those down. More of making sure everybody's okay. I know I'm in Atlanta, so I know Atlanta's popping. Like, they just out. They don't care. But I don't want that on my hands. You know what I'm saying? Somebody coming to my event and the next thing you know, it's traced back to, so that's a no-go. So that, of course, hurt. I am working on something to step it up a notch and change it for the Atlanta R&B show. So that's coming soon. And then for like Big Javi, it hurt to a point. He was on tour. He was on the little TJ tour. He pretty much did the whole West Coast. They came back to the East, and like right when they got back, that's when everything just hit and instantly shut down. And of course, we had other things lined up. He really should have just been on go from there. So the direction we took with him has been music videos, continuing to reach his audience, using social media, using, you know, other platforms virtually, and getting the music out and making sure that he's doing connections with his fan base on Instagram Live. You know what I'm saying? Just having that constant communication, always staying active. And I know artists do that all the time, but with COVID, it's like you had to step it up even more, you know. And even for me, that's why I said I answer your DMs, because, you know, I have to right now. You know what I'm saying? I can't say, well, meet me at such and such, you know, we do this and we, you know, no, it kind of has to go that way. So that's how it affected me.
John Griggs?
Basically the same thing. Touring definitely got put to a stop. And if you have, like me, my artist is a performer. So it's like, he's one of those types of people, like, if he can perform in front of you, if you weren't a fan, like, his performance is everything. The silver lining to it, though, is it created an opportunity for us to learn about what we can do on the media side of it. If you have the opportunity to go out there, everybody was doing Instagram Live, the Zooms, the Instagram shows was even a thing. So for your followers, especially with the Instagram algorithms, for sure, it's like, where you wouldn't have 300, 200 people on a live, because everybody got locked up in the house immediately. Now your live is 300, 400, 500 people. So it gave you an opportunity for your fans who weren't aware of what was going on in that moment in time. It gave them a chance to see what you had been doing because they hadn't been able to see it before.
And that's a crazy thing too that I was thinking as managers, and I've never been a manager, so I don't know, but I would think that you're beginning to see a different side of your artists now, you know, because it's one thing when you've got the whole world open and you can tour, but now when everything stops, you know, how bad do you want it? How creative are you willing to be? You know, how much work are you willing to put forward to make sure that your brand doesn't die, you know, that your name doesn't fizzle out during these times. So that's a valid point, just Instagram and how much we do have access to the world that we don't utilize. And now COVID-19 has kind of made us start to utilize those things that we might not have been, you know, using before. Miss Jones, do you have anything to add to that?
Yes, kind of mine is piggybacking off of what everybody said. I had, with the Let's Talk, I had to completely just stop doing that. And I had probably just only had maybe 3 before COVID hit. And immediately, thank God that I was already thinking about other things before COVID hit, which is Let's Talk with Mimi B and still being able to help artists in some type of way. But also, I just know how to shift real quick, but I just went back into management. So right when I went back into it, COVID was already here. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't have to, you know, just go through that hassle that everybody else was going through. I just went back into it. So I just had to switch up how I present education to people, advisement to people. And instead of meeting them at the studio all the time, let's, you know, talk over Zoom or Messenger, you know, whatever is helpful for everybody. So.
Kimani, do you have anything you'd like to add? We can't see you, so we don't.
Yeah, BC. I think what we've seen is a lot of the independent artists are being more successful, and the artists that are signed are struggling a little bit more. I think that's been a long time thing with financially the signed artists usually do make their money through doing shows and doing tours, but a lot of the independent artists who actually make their money off of the music are finding ways to use things like Spotify and iTunes and different ways to sell their product and sell their services. And they're being more successful financially because the house who wouldn't be at home listening to music, watching YouTube, listening to Spotify that are there now. So we're seeing actually on YouTube sites, like some of our artists are independent artists that we just put out that they just put out like 3 weeks ago. And I don't think that would be possible if it wasn't for COVID and if it wasn't for people being stuck in the house.
Yeah, there's definitely been some bright sides to COVID-19. Speaking generally to the managers, how do you deal with the daily tasks and opportunities that are presented to you as it relates to your artists? How do you handle the workload? What does that look like?
Well, for me, I like to say I try to be punctual about it all. Like I said, just go back to me doing shows as well. Like I'm constantly seeing how other managers kind of work. Like I might send out for a contract, I might hear something back a week later, 2 or 3 days later, and I'm actually in a process of trying to like feed another artist, you know what I'm saying, money, but I just try to make sure it's punctual. I treat it like a job. I think that's like the biggest thing, like jobs as a manager, like there's like no really set time, no set schedule. So what it does is it allows people to relax. So I get back to it later, you know, blah, 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 blah. But me, myself, I just try to make sure I'm that one or that the type that's kind of like punctual with it. You know, I just wanted to be like, I don't want nobody ever to come back and say, well, he didn't do this and he didn't do that. And it falls back on me. I like to try to say I represent my artist, you know, saying the best as, you know, I can. So I don't want nobody, you know, speaking bad on my name. And, you know, as a manager, I want the bookings. I want everything that you're kind of like requesting for. Because if you're successful, then I'm successful. And we're successful, you know. It's just like good business, you know. So having like good business practices you just take that all the way across the board, and that's how I try to treat my job as a manager.
Okay. So?
Yeah, piggybacking off of that, I always stress relationships are everything. You know what I'm saying? Not just for artists, but for managers, for anybody, period, in anything that you're doing, right? A relationship can carry you a long way. So for me, it's like same thing. You want to respond, you want to be punctual, even if you can't do it at the moment, say something, right? And then like you take it back to your artist, you still, you want to lay it out for them too. Some things, they do have opinions, they do have thoughts, they do have feedback as well. So you want to go back and get that, make sure that everything is going to, work together hand in hand, and then you take it back, and get on the ball with doing it. But yeah, for the biggest thing is making sure that you keep those relationships that have been established. And if it's a new relationship that's being formed, make sure that you nurture it, so that it can continue to grow and blossom.
All right. Mr. Griggs.
Just agreeing with what they said, networking, making sure you respond. As far as workload goes for my artists, we sit down at the top of every week to know what we reaching for that week, regardless of if it's sessions, if it's anything else. So therefore, it's like we know the rubric when we wake up on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. If a curveball is thrown during that week, that's easy to handle because I got organization of everything else already in that week. And chances are, depending on how big or small the curveball is, we'll just look at it and be like, we're going to do this right now, or are we just going to keep moving towards the goal we set for this week? Because ideally, with us, me and my artists work with a weekly and a quarterly goal mindset. It's like, I need to get this done this week so that by the end of this quarter, it's done. And if I can wrap up my whole quarter in 1 month, now it's time to start something brand new.
That's good. Mrs. Jones, I know you said you just got back into management, but how's that working for you? What's your workload look like? How do the daily responsibilities look for you, and how do you deal with them?
Well, it's a lot. In the midst of, and this is just being straight up and real so everybody can know situations that we go through, but in the midst of everything, I had an assistant, and I no longer have that assistant. So everything, I have one person that helps me, which is Mimi B, but I don't have the original assistant. So everything just fell on me to manage. So it's been hectic. But it's a blessing because I didn't even know how much I can handle until I was faced with dealing with everything myself. So I have with my team, with the two that I manage, I make sure that we talk on a daily basis. We have like tasks that we already have our monthly calendar set out, and we already know what our goals is and when everybody projects come out and how we're going to do the rollout. So we already went over that. As soon as I came on, I already had an idea what I want to do with them before I even said, hey, I want to manage you. So I came to them with the package, basically.
Speaking of that, you can lead this question, how do you decide that that's an artist you want to work with? When you see an artist at a showcase or you see them on Instagram, like what does that artist have to have in order for you to say, that's it, I'm signing on?
Mm-hmm. For me, it's the drive. Like, are you willing to go harder than what I go? Like, are you willing to outwork me? And you can see that because I don't just randomly say I want to work with the artist. I watch them, or I've either been consulting them for probably a year or so, or I just watch them constantly on social media. Like, that artist is on it. And then also paying attention to their habits and their thought process. Like, there's certain things they say to me when I talk to them. Because you'll know whether it's a front or if it's real, if they're real genuine about whether they serious about this industry. So that's how I know.
So, how about you? How do you know that an artist is one that you've got to work with?
So the work ethic, what they have going on, you know what I'm saying? Without me, what have you built? What have you done? What are you trying to do? Where are you trying to go? What is your goal? You know what I'm saying? Because their goal may not align with my goal, or my goal, may not align with them. And it's funny, I didn't want to manage my artists. It came to me through another relationship that I had going on. And so it took me a minute, but it came back to watching them work and seeing, and then the other artist, of course, he's my son. So that kind of happened, regardless. I still didn't want to be a part of, but it just naturally happened where, even his other manager is like, no, you're a part of this team, your opinion, we need everything from you too. and being that you're out there as well, you know what I'm saying? You need to be on the team. So I guess that's just kind of how it works. But as far as like new talent that I meet at the showcases or whatever the case, it comes back to how they're working. Because some people, you know, they'll come to you, they'll sing your music all day, and they have all kind of things to say. And then it's like, okay, now what? And then they're looking at you like, now what? Because they don't know. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, but you could have done so much more. You missed a lot. So that's how it works for me.
Okay, John Griggs.
I agree with the idea of goal alignment. So for me, it's the hunger and it's goal alignment. My attitude is real. I think I'm the best person in the room, even if I don't vocally tell y'all that. So when it comes to my artists, especially like me and Josh, we think the exact same way. If he gets on stage and it's 10 other performers, when he get on stage, he like, y'all know y'all messed up, right? And if I'm coming in the room to handle the business for him, I'm thinking the same thing. I'm looking at you like, it's something you could have did better. So when I'm looking for the artists that I want to work with, I'm looking for like, how hungry are you? And what is your idea of perfection? Granted, there is no such thing as perfection, but how close to it are you trying to get?
All right, Stunna.
Well, I got to piggyback off of everybody. So you know, it's the hunger, it's the talent. I gotta love the music. For me, like I don't care how pretty you are. Like it's just certain things. Like, you know, of course, like image sells as well. But at the same time, I gotta love the music. I gotta fall in love with the music first. That kind of like does it for me. Once I fall in love with the music, then I find out about the person. You know, like I said, do they have the potential? Because some artists might not have everything that you're looking for right into it, but can you bring it up out of them? You know what I'm saying? Can you get them to the next level? Because where they at right now might be their max, or you know what I mean? So I base a lot of that on, do they have the potential to be a star? Not just like a one-hit wonder. Do they have? I try to look for a star. Can it be that? Can he be that guy? Can she be that woman? And I think that's kind of like where it starts for me. Then you go into your habits and your talents and your dedication, your drive, and everything of that nature.
All right, Kimani.
Yeah, and I think for me it's a little bit different because, you know, I had actually retired from music. And we brung back the music and brung back the label actually as an alternative to incarceration. So a lot of the guys that we deal with usually are either living a certain type of lifestyle, or they are or they just came home. So a lot of the people that we're working with, they have talent, but we also, but they not there yet, and it's something that we gotta cultivate. Look for somebody who has a strong desire to do this, students and artists, that the financial and the business part of the music business will steal the love from you really quickly. So that's one thing that we really try to focus on, finding somebody who the music is critical to them. So it's really important because we know that you're not going to make a bunch of money right away, and it often takes a long time for artists to make money. So you have to have somebody with that
Kimani, are you dancing with the or are you dancing with the computer? You're going in and out.
where they're not for free, and so we're looking for somebody who has that level, because we know that you're not going to make a bunch of money, so you have to have somebody with that making money, or they only getting $200 way to travel. So we're looking for somebody having a F450. So it's got this thing is about. I'm gonna pull over actually real until the show's over, and I think that'll help with mine.
We're getting like a good third of what you're saying, so we're picking up some good tips, but we love to hear it all.
Yeah, so basically just what I was saying was we look for somebody with a strong level of commitment, because we know how hard it can be to survive the periods where you're trying to be an artist and there's no financial component to it, where you're not making a lot of money. A lot of people see artists on TV, Lil Baby, the Baby, and all of them, and they see all the jewelry and the money, and they automatically expect that that's what an artist lifestyle is like. And in actuality, that's just one out of a million guys trying to do music who actually is making that kind of money. So in order for somebody to be able to survive, they have to have a level of commitment. So that's kind of what we look for in an artist, is somebody that's willing to work, willing to even put in their own money if they have to, willing to get out here, hand out flyers when they got shows, and willing to do shows pro bono or for free if they have to get their name out there. And I think that's that. So that makes that important.
Okay, okay. Speaking of the money and the artists, you named Little Baby and Nut Baby, and those guys right there, they got it out the mud. They were out there grinding, and they did push themselves. And so those are just two artists who believed in themselves when they didn't have it, until they could get there. So I think for the independent artists that are on the line right now, it's not just about management. It's not just about talent. What it sounds like to me is it's a lot of things. And when you put all of those things together, then you create the Little Baby, the Baby, and all of these artists who have made it, quote unquote. But you kind of have to have all of the pieces of the puzzle, not just one of those. So just having talent isn't enough. To the managers, those of you, I would assume all of you, but for those of you who have more than one artist that you represent, is there ever an issue between artists? Do artists like beef over you? Do they feel like you're doing more for one than the other, or one is getting more money than the other, or one is getting more shows than the other? Have you ever run into conflict where one artist just is straight beefing with the other artist simply because you are managing them both?
I would say definitely yes. Like to all the artists that might be on the line, like ultimately as a manager, like some people look at it like they become our kids type stuff, you know what I'm saying? Because you end up doing so much for them, you know what I mean? You with them all the time. At the drop of a dime, you really got to do something and stuff like that. So there's no different than like kids at home, and you know what I'm saying, mama paying you more attention than she paying the other kid, and different artists require different things. So I think it's definitely like a pull between the manager when he's trying to juggle multiple things or multiple artists, just because it's just that, well, he got a feature, why I can't get a feature? And it's like along that way, you might have learned something about features that might not be smart enough for you. Like, okay, well, you might not even need that feature, or the strong is strong enough to stand on his own, or you thinking that the artist that you want to feature with is going to support the record and take it out of here. That's like one of the biggest things that people just think, you know what I mean? Well, I get a feature with Lil Baby, I'm out of here. He said he's going to promote it. He said he's going to do this. And it's like, but in that process, you learned that, yeah, he did post it. So technically he did what he said he was going to do, but we learned that these artists ain't really hands-on like they said they're going to be and stuff like that. So you learn certain things along the way. So some artists may look at it like, okay, well, he did this, why I can't do it? But, once you try to tell them, but it's still in the back of their head, everybody's going to think that I deserve all your attention. And it really, don't work like that, because you're trying to, it's like a pot. Whoever got the hottest hand, you really kind of go with. And, or you can use it to your advantage and say, well, I'm gonna work extra hard to get his attention. So that way he can focus more on me, or I'm going to make myself hotter. And, kind of like treat it. It's more mentality than it is anything else. So it's definitely beef when you got more than one artist that you're managing.
All right. Anyone else? John, I low-key want to call on you just because you're eating, but I ain't going to do it. Mrs. Jones.
I'm a answer. But I understand it. At one point when I first started managing, I was working with 3 artists, and it is like the child complex, I guess. It's like one of them gets attention that the other one doesn't get. So truth be told, I scaled back. When I had multiple artists, I went to the main artist, the one I know I truly wanted to work with. And that was just the idea of I can't have too many eggs in one basket. Now that I work with an artist and a producer, it's almost ideal, because pushing an artist and pushing a producer is 2 different things. Now all the artists that my artist has worked with, all I do is call their managers and say, hey, my producer got a pack for your artist. Check it out. So it's right now it's ideal. So if I had to say moving forward, what I want to work with multiple artists or artist-producer combos, the combo is where it's at for me. And if I got to have other artists, then I'll find somebody who I trust, that I see as an assistant, or somebody who I feel like could take the reins of a manager. And if I picked up a new artist, I would just basically train them to work with the artist, because artists need a special care and attention.
All right. Thank you.
So I'm gonna be a little different. Partially yes and then no. You have to build a team, and that team becomes family. So like for instance, I have to just like use an example, like Big Javi. Big Javi was working years ago since he was a little guy. He was No Genre with B.O.B., you know, that whole team. And everybody had a time. You know what I'm saying? Everybody had a time. So you push the first, that like the hot one, the focus point, the one that's just popping at the moment. You know what I'm saying? And then the rest in the background, they're still building, they're still growing, they're working. It's not that they're just shelled or anything, but that first one will go break the ice, and then you can bring in the rest. Or kind of like Nelly. Nelly made it, he broke the ice, and then he went back and brought in the Saint Lunatics, his family. You know what I'm saying? And so we kind of adopted that same mentality. So we worked as a team, or even as a family. You know, that's what we say. We consider each other family. And, you know, it goes back to having those monthly or weekly meetings and knowing what your goal is, what the agenda is, who's up, you know, who's going to go this way, who's going that way, how are we going to, you know, this person's songwriting, this person is the front face doing the tours, doing the shows, this person's still growing, you know, developing. So you're doing showcases over here, you know what I'm saying? But everybody knew their lane, but that comes down to them personally. You know, to know your lane, to know the direction, to understand the goal of the team. And then it makes it easier. Of course, you have some people who might be in their feelings, but as far as like all out arguments or falling apart, we just never experienced that. We just always been like a fam.
That's good. Mrs. Jones.
Yeah, so I have experienced that. Somewhat more on the consulting side. Like if I consult one client, I don't know, people just assume that I manage everybody I consult. And it can come off that way, but that wasn't the situation. So maybe, let's say one female see that I consult another female, and they'll be like, well, she's here, but I'm not there. And what are you doing extra with her? And then also just not trying to insult their talent, just to say, well, her drive is a little bit more than your drive, you know, but I am straightforward. So I could be like, you know, well, hey, you know, she's been doing this X amount of years before you came to me. And then when you came to me, you said you were doing it this a certain amount of time. And, you know, just trying to, so more on the consulting side. But now that I'm back into management, no, I know what to do now. Is like, no, we're a team. It's not gonna be none of that. Like, we're gonna grow together no matter what we do, and everybody's gonna have, you know, a part of this thing. We're all gonna celebrate each other. So that's where I'm at with it.
Kimani, are you pulled over? You got anything you want to add?
Yeah, and I guess I've seen a little bit of both. I had the privilege of watching the Locks deal with DMX's fame when I was being managed by Rough Rider. So looking at it from the artist side, and especially being the little guy in that group, I can certainly say it wasn't beef, but I certainly thought that I wish I was in a place where I was getting more recognition, but having an artist of that magnitude out in front of me, I understood the situation I was in. For myself, it created drive, which made me go and find my own record deal at the time while I was signed to Rough Riders management. With the artists that we have now, like family, I mean, we are family. So I've got a bunch of family members working together. But even then, sometimes you hear, well, when am I going to get to make my video? Or when is the studio time for me? I don't think it's beef against each other or one feeling one way about another, but it's more individually they feel like they deserve to be doing more.
Well, and I think that to be an artist and to want to be an artist, you got to have that star quality, right? And a lot of that star quality comes with a tremendous amount of confidence and a tremendous amount of ego. So if you take away the confidence and ego, then you kind of, you know, take away a little bit of the artist. So I can only imagine what managers have to deal with as you're dealing with artists who have over the top personalities and egos and you know, confidence levels, and trying to not, how do you say it? Not make them feel bad about who they are, but also keep them in line to where it's a realistic expectation to how to move forward. And as we speak about that, managers, do you guys get paid? If so, how much do you get paid? How does that work? Does every artist pay you the same amount? Do you sometimes come on with an artist and don't get paid anything because you believe in them that much? Are there any exceptions, or what is the general rule of thumb as it comes to money, compensation? What does an artist expect? If I'm an artist and I want to hire one of you guys to be my manager, you know, what do I have to pay you, or do I not pay you until I get paid? How's that work?
Well, I think rule of thumb is supposed to be it's supposed to be set up to a point where, you know, the manager get paid when the artist get paid. But most of the time, artists don't necessarily have anything going on to be showing like they got something coming in that's worth the manager's time and effort. So most of them what they end up doing is almost like consulting / managing. I'm gonna consult you because my time is money, and I know I'm a valuable asset. So I might want something until you start getting some checks coming in. So when the checks coming in, me personally, I look for 20%. That's supposed to be like the industry max type of situation, but I mean, I know what I bring to the table because there's been times I've been away from my family, like on birthdays, but I'm trying to secure a deal that can take us, you know what I'm saying, the rest of our, you know, for the rest of our lives. So you have to take that in consideration too. So how good is the person versus what they're asking for is a major part. So, you know, I think that anybody that's, you know what I'm saying, taking time out their day with you more than they might be with their family, if they, you know what I'm saying, other than at nighttime, then, you know what I'm saying, you got to respect that. So, but, you know, some people, you know, 10, 15%, you know, it's just kind
Before
of
we
like
get to
that.
the other panelists, I wanted to kind of break up what you said. You said something about sometimes if the artist doesn't have anything going on and they're not making money yet, you'll just consult them. What does that mean? And then do you get a flat rate for that? Do you do that pro bono? How does that part work? If I'm not making moves yet, I'm not getting paid for anything, but I still want to work with you. What is consulting?
Right. So the consultant side comes to like, okay, you can sit back from the outside and observe an artist. Okay, you missing this, let's do this. So instead of you shooting 30 videos in a month, like let's use some of this money for some of the ads on your videos. You know, your videos might be getting 100 views. So, you know, let's take some of the money from the video that you're gonna shoot and let's just spend some money on the ad. It's just anything that you can kind of like help the artist, assist them, and what they're doing is more on the consultant side. Using your relationship. So it's pretty much everything that a manager's probably doing that's getting paid like off of what you're bringing in. But since you're not bringing in anything, and it's just hard to kind of like, I'm gonna do it for nothing until you kind of like make some money. And you know, when you start off, everybody knows like you're not gonna start off at 5,000 a show or anything like that. So it's still like you take a hit as a manager because they say you the first to come and you the first to go. You know what I'm saying, when times get hard or once you made it. So you know, that's another thing that, you know, a manager has to kind of like deal with as well. Like, you know, I was there for you when you wasn't getting anything, but now you become who you are and other people are in your ear. Then you like, okay, well, I'm gonna go with Drake's manager because he's Drake's manager. And it's like, damn, you know what I mean? So some of that is like, I need to be compensated, you know, because shit, I can go to work at McDonald's and make something,
Right.
you know?
All right. On to one of the other panelists. Weigh in. How much do you get paid? How do you figure out how much you're going to charge an artist? Are there artists you work with, like Stunna said, where you don't get paid at first and you just kind of work with them because you believe in their craft? Mrs. Jones?
Yeah, so at the minimum 10, at the max 15. and I agree with exactly what he's saying. And it actually shed light on why so many people I consult think I'm their manager or want me to be their manager, because they pay me to give them information to lead them pretty much, and to make sure that paperwork is done and everything. So it really just opened my eyes, like, why do they always ask me to manage them all the time? Or why does everybody? But yes, I always did come off as a manager. So yeah, at the least 10%. And there's been plenty of times where artists have been booked and I've been like, dang, that's all I'm getting paid. I done took, like you said, I done left my family. I done plenty of weekends. My kids just did not have me home, and that's a whole nother situation. And then it's just ridiculous sometimes to me. But at the same time, you want to see, you have a goal for the artist. You want to see them win, so you sacrifice. So yeah.
All right, So.
Yeah, same thing, the 10 to 15%. And then I always tell artists too, you know what I'm saying? A consultant is not bad. You know what I mean? Especially when you're starting out, everybody comes to a showcase. My manager. And so then you talk to this manager and they can't even give you the music in the right format. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I tell them, like, be careful of who you choose to be as your manager, because that represents you and it represents your brand. So get a consultant. It's okay to start with a consultant, and then you have something to work with, have something to manage, you know what I'm saying? And once you do that, people are going to come for you. You're going to catch somebody's eye. They're going to be like, oh, I need to work with such and such. I need to, so that's me personally.
All right, John Griggs.
All right, I apologize. My order's at a wedding right now. All right. Compensation wise, initially nothing. I want to see what you're gonna put into it, and truth be told, ain't no value to it initially, unless I run up on you, and as soon as I meet you, you getting paid like buku for a show. And then even then, I feel like, man, that's more business and less trustworthy. Like, I need you to know that if you're not in the room with me, I'm gonna really fight for you. So I'm gonna manage you initially just off the love of it, because I need you to see the type of person I am. And then once it gets to a place of value, then we can start talking finance. But even then, it really depends on how you looking at it. I would go for the 20%. Like, I'm not gonna take nothing less than the 15%. But that's only because I know what I'm gonna bring to the table when we get into the conversation of it.
All right, Kimani.
Yeah, I think, and as an artist, usually 10 to 15% is what you would pay. But there's also a difference in when we're doing it as management. It's usually 10 to 15%. But we separate the business management from your road manager, like people who go with you and the person who goes with you to your shows and make sure you got what you need, and they on the road to make sure you got the room. That's a separate cost. We call that a road manager. That's the person who goes and gets your back in for you from the venue before you go and you start. So we do both, but usually we'll do 10 to 15% on the artist, and then we'll have 5 to 10% for your road manager. That's a fee that you pay the guy that goes with you, that takes care of all your business while you're on the road. Keeps the artist from extra engagement with people and getting themselves into problems and trouble like that. So we do something different. We paperwork everybody. So when you talk about the situation where when a bigger manager comes along and the artist says, "Hey, I'm gonna go with this manager." I mean, we contract all our management. There's a contract, and there is a buyout for if you decide you want to go with this manager. Then there's a buyout for that manager will have to pay in order for you to transition from our management to theirs.
All right, a question to every one of the panelists. What is the most difficult part of being a manager? The most difficult thing you've experienced in your management career? Something that happened that just kind of took you back. Maybe you learned from it, or maybe you're still kind of going through it.
I think the biggest part is, like I say, the time away from the family. Just because I've been in a situation where it's like you really get hit with the whole, if I was the artist, you'll do this, you know what I'm saying? If I was the artist, you know what I mean? you know what I mean, you'll drop everything you're doing for that. So it's like, it's really like a comparison that you kind of like get. Me personally, like I deal with that because it's like, I just know every situation may be an opportunity, and I don't let no opportunities go past me. So I'm always kind of like on it. But when I do the family time, it's like I try to make sure I might sit my phone down. Like it might be killing me inside, but you know, it gets to the points where I be like, well, I'm gonna sit my phone down for the day. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. And it might be the balance check between everybody, you know what I'm saying? Just to kind of to keep on going, because you know, if you ain't really got no strong backbone, no support system, then it's like when that artist don't make it or something happen, the artist leave you, it's like, damn, like you was all that for them, and then they just up and left you, and then like now you don't have nothing. So it's just one of them things. So I think balance might be the key to working with an artist for me.
All right.
For me, it's a little different. He's my son. So wherever I go, he pretty much goes, or wherever he goes, I'm pretty much there. So for me, it may be us being together too much sometimes. So that's different for us. You know what I'm saying? We've had our moments where, you know, we out somewhere, he's just like, Mom, you're not my mom right now. Just you know, like, give me a minute. So that's what we go through. And then my artist, you know, he's with the family, so he gets it. You know what I'm saying? He comes in, like they do studio sessions together all the time. Like they're like brothers. That's like his big brother, adopted big brother or whatever. So for me, it's slightly different. I don't lose time with the family. I probably gain more and get on his nerves.
All right, John Griggs.
You said the most difficult thing. Dealing with the person I deal with, the most difficult thing is them staying focused. Not because they're not a focused individual when it comes to their work, but emotionally, mentally, almost like self-care type things. Like, am I really the artist that I think I am? Did what I write on this paper, is it really the coldest thing I've written? That's the most difficult thing, because it's like now you turn from manager to, you turn into the emotional support person, letting them know like, bro, you are as great as you think you are. Outside of that, it's not really that difficult because my artist is like my brother. But it's like when it comes to those things, you don't always have the words to tell an artist like, bro, you are really, truly great. Like you really are the blessing that you know you are. Because sometimes you get in a room with other artists, it's like basketball players. It's like sometimes you may feel like what you did isn't as great as what they did. And that's, for me, that's the most difficult part, making sure like, bro, don't get psyched out. Don't put your own self out of your own zone.
All right, Kimani.
I think for me the most difficult part has been dealing with the separation from the artist and their street life. A lot of these guys are into music and they're doing music, but they have other things, um, not so positive things going on in their life that they're usually doing to maintain their financial side of their living. So I think the struggle for us is, you know, what a lot of people hear on the radio, and some of these guys are actually living that life. So we've had one artist with a double homicide end up on death row. We've had another artist with a conspiracy charge end up with 16 years. So I think that's been the toughest part. It's been trying to guide these guys to trust and believe in their artistry, knowing that they need money and they need to have a financial way to keep going, and keeping them away from the street life has been the most difficult thing, to find a balance between getting a guy to trust that the music is going to work, and feeding his family sometimes causes them to make really bad decisions.
Okay, Mrs. Jones.
I pretty much could say what everybody just said, especially what John said, just dealing with the emotional side of them, just keeping them balanced, letting them know that, hey, everything's going to be okay. You are great. We're going to build. You may not be there today, but the goal is to get there tomorrow. And then of course, the time away from the family. I have 4 daughters, so even more so, it's like they need their mother. And so what I started doing is just taking them on the road with me, and that artist that I work with, had to understand, like, hey, Shamele's gonna bring her daughters, but each one of them helps. They're just not standing around. So that's what I do. I try to incorporate my family with whatever I do as much as possible and not leave them behind. And the last thing is just don't not get caught up in bad situations. I've been caught up in some funny situations, and it's very hard as a female in this industry anyways, where you'll be attested and being talked to any type of way, or they try to come at you so many different ways. So just being strong, being able to speak up for myself, and having the full confidence and knowing that, hey, it's going to go this way no matter what you say or no matter who you are.
So I'll be honest, as I'm listening to you guys talk about being management, I don't want to be management. That's not for me. So thank you, because I'm woke. But just listening to the sacrifice, it almost to me feels like you don't win until the artist wins, period. So if you spend 5-10 years pushing this artist and the artist never gets there, then a lot of your work was in vain. You miss out on a lot of family time. You don't get paid that much. There's just, your heart has to be in it. So with that being said, so that's what I take. For those who are on the line, who are thinking about being a manager, who are thinking about getting into this, your heart has to be in it. I'm going to go down the line of the panelists, and I just want one phrase from everyone. What do you think a manager has got to have in order to make it in this industry? We'll start with Mrs. Jones.
For me, confidence.
Okay, So?
Work ethic.
All right, Stunna?
Determination.
John Griggs?
They gotta have resolve.
All right, Kimani?
They got to have a network.
All right, so that's a lot for the managers, people that are thinking about being managers. And now, what advice would you guys give? And again, try to keep it brief, because I'm rounding up on the end of my hour that I have before we get to the questions from those that are on the line watching us. But give advice to an artist who is currently looking for management. I know myself, I'm a brand, so I have a manager. And I was in the process of trying to figure out who to pick as a manager. And there were so many different things. You had to know God. Like, that was a big thing for me. Under that, we could figure out the rest, but you had to know God, because I feel like God to kind of keep your integrity intact when some questionable things happen. So that was important to me. And then the other thing that was important to me was that the person I picked had a bigger network than me, because I got a big network. So I need you to know more people than I know. But what are other things that you would tell artists or brands to look for when they're looking for management and when they're shopping around? Kimani, we'll start with you this time.
Yeah, and like you just said, the network is important. A manager who doesn't have any relationships is really not a manager at all. They can't offer you anything more than what you already have. So I think the manager with a network of people, whether that's radio reps or merchandise providers, somebody that's going to be able to get you in some doors that you usually wouldn't be able to get into. I think also they have to be credible. Meaning that that they're gonna do what they say they're gonna do. So that's something that the first time a manager tells you, I'm gonna book you a show such and such place, and then all of a sudden, oh man, it ain't working. That's probably a bad sign that they can't come through with what they're saying. So you definitely want to make sure that you got somebody who's credible. Also, I know everybody wants to have the manager with the big name. But remember what we talked about before. Sometimes when they have a lot of other artists and you just starting out and don't have your own crowd and your own following, it's very tough to get the time of a manager who has a lot going on. So that's something to definitely consider. I'm not saying don't take somebody like that, but consider the fact that they may just not have time for you because they do have big artists or a bunch of different acts that they already support.
Okay, thanks. John Griggs?
I think they need to make sure that their manager has a goal for themselves. Some reason I say that is because ideally a manager could possibly seem like a leech. it's like, man, as your success grows, their success grows. So some people really just be along for the ride. It's like if your manager has a goal for themselves, it's like now you can be confident in saying, cool, I know I want to be the greatest artist, but this person wants to be the greatest this or something like that. So if you're dealing with somebody else who has goals for themselves, now you can at least sit easy knowing, okay, cool, I might not get messed over in this situation.
Okay, that's good. Stunna?
I'm over here trying to pay for a parking meter.
Okay, we'll come back to you. Mrs. Jones?
I would tell them to make sure, first, do what you can first before you go out and seek a manager. A lot of artists just think that's the number one thing they need to get before they even do anything. And we're not your babysitters and we're not your mom and dad. Like, do what you can on your own first. And then pray about it. God has to be in the mix. And I feel like everybody would be aligned up together. So that's what I would tell a manager. Do what you can first. Pray and see if it's the right timing for you to even have a manager before going forward.
Cool. So?
I'm sorry. Pretty much the same thing as everybody else. Study the person. Make sure, they have the relationships. They know the business. It's simple things that they should be teaching you up front and then leading into other things or making sure that it's done for you and your music and your brand and everything else. So what everybody else said, and then add that on and just make sure that they are a person that can work with, if you do move on and build a team, that they can work in a team. You know what I'm saying? Because some people don't understand there's no I in team. They think it is, and then here comes your problems. So, that's about it. I'll be going all night.
All right, Stunna, you ready?
Yeah, I think, like I say, just pretty much piggyback off of everybody else is almost just making sure you have enough work for a manager to do, and just make sure, like you say, they got something going on more than what you already got going on. Other than that, it's just a friend that you could need to say, hey, people want to get in a certain position, be like, well, talk to my manager because, I need to give this image that I'm bigger than what I really am. So they tend to say, well, if you got a friend, you can just play it off, like talk to my manager, you know what I mean? Or just give your contact to this person right here. So just have something going on and make sure that person that you do find has something, like you say, open up some doors that you can't get in by yourself already. So, and I actually got to step out. I got a 4 o'clock myself. So I just want to say thank you for the opportunity for everybody. Everybody keep grinding, be patient, shoot for the stars.
Thank you very much, too.
Hey, Stunna, before you leave,
appreciate it.
Tell everyone where they can find you out on social media again, for those who may have jumped on late, where they can find you at social media, how they can get in contact with you if they're trying to be a part of 5 Star.
No doubt. So I'm the CEO of 5 Star Empire. You can follow us on Instagram, 5.star.empire. We humble people. We still check our DMs and stuff like that. So, we located out of the Carolinas, South Carolina, North Carolina. I just moved to LA just so that I can keep on getting everything, trying to connect the dots from afar. So, it's just trying to figure out, it's like a puzzle. The music industry is like a big ass puzzle. You're trying to figure it out. So just do what you can, go hard, and, hit us up. Let us know what's up.
All right. Appreciate you. Have a good one.
I appreciate y'all.
All right, guys. So we're running up on 7 o'clock here. So if all of you can kind of give us your social media information, any website information, any contact points that the artists watching can use to get a hold of you. John Griggs, you want to go first? Kimani?
Oh yeah, I just unmuted it. You can get me on Instagram, Twitter at @_Griggs. I do not have a website, but if you reach out to me on there, I definitely respond. I find joy in being what others was to me. When I first got into the management situation, I had a mentor or somebody who gave me free game, as Willpower would say. And it's the same thing. If you got an artist or if you're an artist who's like, how do I do this or how do I do that? DM me on Twitter, DM me on Instagram, and I'll respond there to you.
Okay. We're not going anywhere, guys, so don't leave. They're just introducing themselves once again, giving you their contact information so that you can find them. We still got another hour full of information to go, so don't go anywhere. Kimani, can you give them your information now? Thanks, John.
Yeah, my Instagram is The Real Casino, and the casino is spelled with a K. And on Twitter, I am Mr. Why Not You Too, and that's the letter Y, NOTU, and the number 2. I try to do a little more promoting my nonprofit organization on there, but you can definitely reach me Instagram, Facebook, everything else, Snapchat, all of that at The Real Casino.
All right, so.
Yeah, so the plug on everything. My Instagram is SoSotheplug_. Somebody has stolen it. But yeah, it's SoSotheplug, spelled grammatically correct. And then my website is SoSotheplug.com. And my email is info@SoSotheplug. So at gmail.com. I'm sorry. Pretty straight across the board. So you should be able to find me.
Okay. Mrs. Jones?
On IG, it's Your Artist Consultant. Real Life Music, the way it's spelled, on IG as well. Real Life Music on Facebook as well. Your Artist Consultant all the way across. It's 2 different brands, so it's just the way it's spelled all the way across the board on everything.
All right, I'm going to get into some of the questions that are being asked while we've been speaking. There are a lot of people in the chat. If you guys get a chance to check it out, they have graphic designers, managers are in here. So just get to know everybody. We've got singers and songwriters in here. Hello, everyone. Let me see if I can find a question. What processes are you using to book paying shows for your new artists that have come through showcasing? So basically, how do you go about getting new artists on the stage?
I get new artists on the stage by putting them with my artists. I ain't gonna tell the story. Like the first tour I went on was we took the Brent Fayez idea. We booked out 10, 12 cities, 300 to 500 people in the venue on our own. So from there, what we did was if other artists wanted to be put in front of people, it's like, I know my artist can put this many people in the building. Now you come out with us and I'll put you in front of them. Ideally, I feel like it's hard to get you a paid show if no one really knows who you are. So I feel like the next best option is to get with somebody who doesn't mind putting up money to put on a show. If you can bring somebody to your hometown or put somebody on a stage and make yourself the opener, that's ideal.
Yeah. Mrs. Jones?
So I've been able to use platforms like, for instance, like SoSo's platform. Like she pretty much have a lot of different events to help indie artists. And getting connected with her, I was able to get connected with a lot of people in order to find other events. Plus, don't forget about social media. There's so many different platforms, so many different events that you can just look up. I key in a hashtag to find for your artist to perform or open up for an artist. Open mics, radio shows, blogs, you name it is out there. So that's what I would use.
All right, so.
Okay, so sometimes it's not always about, if you're still trying to build and get known or get your name popping, sometimes you have to build your brand. So that's where I came up with my shows, to give others opportunities to network and build. So for instance, I'll bring in DJs. I don't want just a DJ that just spins music. I need a DJ that's out, a DJ that has a connection, that, you know what I'm saying, is moving. So that DJ, like for instance, there's one in particular in Atlanta. She's in every event. Name the star, she's there. But what I like about her, she's gonna drop that independent artist in the middle of her mix, and she's gonna yell out their name 10,000 times. So somebody like her, I'm gonna have her on my team or on my squad. Then I'm gonna move to my people who do legit showcases. You know, like that's a whole nother topic, a whole nother day. But I tell artists all the time, you have to perform at platforms that do something for your brand. And when I say that, that means that, you know, connects you to other people again. You know what I'm saying? Keeps it moving. Not just performing in front of the same people every week, or, you know what I'm saying? And nothing's happening, nothing's building. Taking them, exposing artists to platforms, A3C. You know, when I first came up to South Carolina, the artists actually didn't even know what A3C or South by Southwest was. It was like this. So I gave them a free trip to go, you know what I'm saying, to perform. Like, they performed to win, and that's how I helped do that. Then once you get that established, you move on, you start opening up for bigger acts, kind of like what John was saying, or you create your own tour, and then you put openers in front to give them the exposure, you know what I'm saying? Because now you're the same thing. I started my show in South Carolina. Part of it was to give Atlanta artists exposure outside of Atlanta, because Atlanta's oversaturated and overrated. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's trying to come to Atlanta to pop off. Atlanta's trying to get out of Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, bunch of cap down here. So I had to go out of Atlanta because I wanted to give them the chances. And then at the same time, I flipped it, you know, and I did bring South Carolina into legit platforms in Atlanta. So that's my ways. That's just some of them. You know what I'm saying? You call me, you want more. That's just a few good tidbits.
All right, Kimani, you got anything to add?
I think it's a combination of everything everybody said. I think when you're trying to get more showcases, I think doing openings for other acts and other artists is a big thing. I think for getting your music out there, being willing to work with other artists and do compilations and stuff like that, where you might get on a song with another artist with a little more buzz, or who's from a different area than you are, so that you begin to spread your sound and your voice to different areas. So I think it's a lot of different ways you can go about bringing up the artists. Right now, the strong thing is obviously social media, getting on the Instagram, posting regularly, responding to the DMs, the ones that, you know, the right DMs, and just staying busy and working, I think, is the best way to go about it.
I thank you guys. I wanted to add to that. A lot of artists we see putting out music and new things on their social media, keeping their content alive, which is wonderful. But there's also something to be said about making sure you're getting that content in front of new people. Because if you continue to put that content in front of the same people that have been following you, you're not growing. You just have your yes men, you know, your audience that's going to continue to clap every time you do something, but it's the same audience. So how much money can that audience really put into you? So the goal should be, as an artist, to continue to grow in numbers on social media, maybe to put some money behind your social media posts so that your ads get into different markets, just things like that. So I don't want artists that are watching to get into this thing where, okay, I got to post something of me singing or rapping every day, because if you're just putting it out to the same people, you might as well not do it at all, because it's really not doing anything for you. It's making you feel good. You know, maybe inflating your ego or making you feel like you're doing something, but I'm not quite sure what it's doing for your artistry or for your brand. Do any of you guys want to kind of expand on that?
Consistency. Same thing, going right into what you just said. You have artists that post one song on Monday, another song on Tuesday, another song on Wednesday, another song, and I'd be like, what are you doing? Like, hold on, slow down. I don't want your whole mixtape. You know what I'm saying? Just push one thing. YouTube is amazing. You know, my favorite line, my new one right now, doesn't McDonald's still promote and brand themselves? Don't you see their commercials? So why shouldn't you have one? You know what I'm saying? Why stick with the small platforms too? Find YouTube, you know what I'm saying? Figure out how to get yourself on there. If you don't rap like Drake, don't put yourself on the lineup with a Drake song. You know what I'm saying? Put your ad where you fit in. You know what I mean? So you sliding in and it's like, oh, who's this? Now they're clicking on you. They're coming to find out who you are. Have professional content. You know what I'm saying? Everything can't be from your phone. You know, you want it to look a certain way. You want it to attract a certain audience. You know, sometimes you have to, well, not sometimes, you have to invest in yourself. So, you know, take your time to build, again, going back to, like you said, your content, and make sure that it's showing, you know, your work ethic. And it was something else, but I forgot. So,
all right, Mrs. Jones.
Man, first of all, thank you for saying that, Beezy, because that needed to be said. No, back to what SoSo said, like, YouTube is killing the game, like I always would say. Number one, when it comes to social media promoting. Spotify, number two. Everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people forget about Spotify. You want to get on these playlists. That's another way to expose yourself. Talk to these curators. Yes, it's hard to find them, but then it's not. I used to think it was, but if you go on Instagram and put hashtag curators, you will find them. Just that simple. Search on Google.
Curator?
Oh, curator is the people who place your music on their playlist.
Okay.
So you have Spotify playlists. They dish out different playlists that they create, and then you have us, the regular people who make playlists ourselves, and then you have editorial curators too that put music on playlists. So you just want to find them. Join Facebook groups. Join groups on Instagram. There's plenty of them. That's another way.
All right, Kimani, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think that, just to add on to what you were saying about performing or showing yourself to other places, like a lot of artists have to remember, it's usually not your hometown that breaks your music. So in your hometown is usually the last person to support you as well. I'm not saying there's not cases where it does happen, but very often your hometown is the last people that support you. So you definitely have to get out there and share your music in different areas. And when you do, make sure that if you do put money to promote on Instagram, Facebook, whatever, make sure you select in areas that's outside of just your own. Don't spend all your money promoting to Columbia, South Carolina, if that's where you live, or Yonkers, New York, if that's where you live. Just make sure that you promote in other areas to be able to share your music with different people, because it is tough to break an artist in their own home territory. Is very difficult.
And I think, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. And learn your algorithms on social media too. Your analytics, basically. Look at it. You know what I'm saying? See what audience you reach. See what age. It breaks it down for you. So learn how to read that and understand it and use it to your advantage. Also, sometimes it's what time you post. Like for me personally, I've learned midnight till about 2:00 in the morning, my posts pop off. I post in the daytime, sometimes it gets no love, I have to delete it and repost. So, just learn how to use those things at your hand. And it goes back to what we said earlier. If you're doing all this first before you're seeking management, it'll take you a long way, and it'll put you in a position, again, by the time you do get to that need of management, you're already on a different level where you truly need to be, and you'll attract that right manager.
And I was last week I was doing some research on Master P, and I'm from Pennsylvania, so I knew about Make 'Em Say all that, but I wasn't the biggest Master P fan, so I didn't know all the stuff right about Master P. But as I began to research him, I discovered that he was out hanging up his own flyers, and he was out hanging up his own posters, and he was doing concerts and hanging up the information for the concerts himself, because that's how bad he wanted it. And then even as he kind of got big, he got offers, and he was declining offers while living in the projects because he believed in where he was going that much. So I say all that to say, for these artists, we're looking at management here, and I'm sure many of you know other managers. Just, you really, really, really have to be grinding so hard yourself to where you can't take on anything else, and you need somebody to help you. And that's the point that you seek management. Even I'm not an artist now, but I got to the point where I was running all the time. I was barely sleeping. I was on TV. I was on the radio. I was hosting things. I couldn't even answer email. I was overlooking things because I was so busy. And at that point, you need someone else that can be your second set of eyes. So don't look at the manager like the manager is going to be the reason that you get on, or the manager is going to be the door that's going to connect you to this, supernatural celebrity life that you're looking for. You got to look at it like a manager is now your assistant that's going to be able to handle these things for you, that's going to talk to people because maybe you don't want to, or maybe you can't. That's going to ask for 1,000 when you're only getting 500 right now. Just somebody that's going to assist you. It's kind of like you're Jordan and your manager is going to be Scotty. So together, it's the dream team, but you got to be Jordan first. So I just wanted to say that, so that I think that a lot of times artists do begin to think that they need this manager, because the manager is going to be, that's going to take them there. And you got to be going anyway. By yourself, you got to be already going. That manager should just be kind of that, that force that pushes you a little bit harder, or together you guys go a little bit further. Speaking of managers, here's a question, another question from the chat. Irvin Johnson asked, should there be escalations in the contract for the manager, specifically as the artist's career progresses? So maybe you would start out at a 10% and then go to 15 and 20, or do you ever get over 20 as the artist continues to get bigger? Does your percentage change, or does it just, stay 20%? You just end up getting more because they're getting more.
I can go ahead and answer. I would say that right now I'm stuck at the 15. I'm stuck at that, but you have other things to factor in. For me, I work on like placements and stuff for the artist. So this extra money coming in on another end for me. So it's not in my contract. I can say that. So that's how I'm gonna answer.
Okay, so.
Yeah, somebody in the chat already answered it, and I agree. Your percentage, 20% to me, as far as I know, is normally the max. So if they're making more money, 20% of that comes to you. So naturally, you're making more money. So.
All right. Do you feel like you or your artist have an obligation to speak on the social injustice issues surrounding Black people and minorities? Why or why not? Kimani, you want to go first?
Yeah, I think that with our artists, if they feel like it is necessary that they jump in, we try to communicate with them to just be careful the things that they say. You'll be surprised that if somebody as powerful as Nick Cannon can say something and get himself in the situation that he's in, you can certainly say some things that may be distasteful in your mind. It may be your view and in your opinion, but it can be distasteful to other people. So we try to monitor our guys' social media to make sure that they're not saying something that's distasteful. We want you to have an opinion and we want you to voice your opinion, but nowadays a lot of people try so hard, and we talk about do anything for clout, and they put up some content and people don't realize once you say those things, you can't take those things back. Once you post that stuff, you can't take those posts back. It only takes a person a second to screenshot it, and then the next thing you know, you're being labeled as a racist, or you're being labeled as anti-Semitic, or you're being so. We feel like it's okay for our artists to discuss it, but we try to monitor what they say and to just talk to them about, being tasteful with whatever content they put up.
Okay, ladies, either one of you have anything to add to that? No?
No,
okay.
I agree. Politics is always, a touchy topic wherever you are, right? Or religion, you know what I'm saying? That can always get you in a lot of trouble. And so you do it's a fine line. If you want to speak on something, like for instance, Javi, when the protest was going on in Atlanta, he did incorporate it into one of his music videos, the Personal Problems video. And it actually ties in, because it is a stressful situation, Black men being killed and all kind of things like that. So the song is about personal problems, the stress that he carries day to day. So yes, that incorporated into it. So that was his way of speaking on it. But if you're not knowledgeable enough of something, you have to be careful. Or even if you are, you still have to be careful and sensitive of how you say it, because like Kimani said, they made an example out of Nick Cannon, you know what I'm saying? Just like that. And then like he even came back and said, he spoke his truth and then he apologized. And now the Black community is still attacking him, now for apologizing. So it's like, you have to be careful because it can hurt you. So yeah, I tread lightly with all that stuff.
I agree the same thing. I don't tell no artist that I work with that you should post about anything. I did hear a lot of them say, well, I don't know what to post, or should I post at all? So a lot of them went long period of times without even posting anything. But I feel like, yeah, speak your truth, but be careful about how you say it. You can do little things to pretty much represent what it is that you stand by. Like when they had the Blackout Tuesday, you could do, and everybody know where you stand when you do something like that. So,
yeah. Okay, Juan Andrews has a question. What if you know the artist's music is great, but their platform isn't as big and it's really hard for them to gain traction on social media? What advice would you have for an artist like that? Kimani?
Like like they were saying earlier, there are curators and also promoters to help somebody when um, you just don't have that network in order to get your music out there. So I would definitely say you have to, even before you look into a manager, you have to look into people that can promote your music and people that can introduce you to different platforms and ways to get your music out there. It can be a daunting task when you see other artists that you feel like you're better than out there getting a lot more recognition than you. But it's a good thing to know that a lot of that is based on promotion and stuff that can be paid for at a low cost that can help develop that and get your talent in some different places, just like Instagram promotion. Like that's a way to get your talent in different places for a low cost, and you have to take advantage of those things.
Okay, ladies?
And you better get some young kids behind you. Those little kids be posting away, boy, and they will start a trend. Get them little influencers, social media influencers behind you, behind your campaign. TikTok, that's what I was trying to think of earlier. I put it in the chat, but TikTok and Triller was the wave, you know what I'm saying? It still is to a point, helping a lot of artists break ground. Artists you never heard of a day in your life, you go on there and you see all kind of little dances going on for wave and a trend. Get those little kids behind you. Those kids, hey, those kids know social media sometimes better than, these adults out here. Then back to the social media for Instagram, you got the Facebook, you got YouTube, you have all kind of stuff that you can use right in front of you before you go, to the bigger things. Mm-hmm. And get out of your hometown. I say that, spread your wings.
Mm-hmm. Mrs. Jones?
And I agree with both of them, like influencers, thinking outside the box, doing different type of social media posts, instead of hiding behind the camera and not never going live, go live a little bit more, communicate with the people. People want to know your personality, not what their perception is all the time, but what is this person really like? Answer the DMs. Don't think you're too good to not respond, and don't think you're too good to not be on no show. So that's what I would tell you, artists.
And when you guys do showcases, put your social media out there. Have some merch. You know what I'm saying? Make people remember who you were. And less is more. A lot of artists come to platforms and they think they need to do the whole mixtape. I always tell them less is more. Make somebody, who is that dude? He turned the thing up. Who was he? What was it? Social media. So when you get up there, you perform. Before you perform, give your social media. Before you give that mic back, to the host or whatever, and you're sitting down, give your social media again. Make sure people make it stick in their head. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is where you can find me. This is who I am. Boom, drop the mic. You know what I mean? Because a lot of artists will get up there and they perform and they just go sit down. And then you're like, well, who was that again? And then, it's in conversation on the ride home. Yeah, you remember that dude, but what was his name? You know what I'm saying? And right there, that could have helped you, because you don't know who they know and where it could go.
And today there's so much with technology. I mean, just even menus at restaurants, if you scan it with your camera, it pulls up a website. Like simple things like that. Get a business card that simply has your name on the back of it and a little scanner where people can scan it with their phone and boom, it opens up your Instagram page. Music starts playing. Like, it's engaging and interactive, and you handed that stuff to them as you left. So you're not just leaving them with, this is my name, but you got my name, my website, my Instagram, you got music, all this stuff is coming off of one little card. So it's like a new age business card. There's just so much that you can be doing when you have this audience and, they're in the room, even if they're not vibing with you, put on your show, and before you leave, make sure you leave something on them. I agree with what everyone has said here. Mm-hmm. Moving, Mrs. Jones, did you have anything to add before I went on to the next question?
No, I just wanted to say, I wanted to tell exactly what I saw artists do at a showcase. Basically, she got up to perform. Well, before she got up to perform, her dancers went around the room and said, hey, follow me on Instagram. Well, you thought, because you do it so fast, you don't really pay attention. So you thought you was following that that dancer, but you actually following that artist. So your team, how they work as well, making sure everybody's just on it. And, you know, not being selfish, just looking out for themselves, your team, but just making sure that artists get what they need to be. So that's all I wanted to share.
Okay. Shamele Jones asked, she said she switched her genre to gospel and she's starting to see that she's not getting booked as much. Is there a reason why there's a disconnect? I'm going to just jump on that real quick before I pass it to you guys. There's a disconnect when it comes to the world and God. So I think that's already there. So, you know, you just see more of worldly behavior than you do, you know, God-like behavior. So I think when you understand that, you kind of understand that it's going to be a little tougher as far as putting gospel music out there. But go ahead, guys, from the manager's standpoint. Kimani, you want to go first?
Yeah, I definitely think, you know, gospel as a genre itself, um, even though it has grown significantly recently, but you as an artist, you just gotta understand that your demographic is smaller by nature. And that is gonna take some time to regrow a fan base that's based on, if it's Christian music, Christian hip hop, you know, those fan bases are just not the size of R&B and hip hop. And I mean, so you're gonna have less viewers and less of a following. And I think what's important um, is is to utilize social media for not just your music, but to let people get to know you. So they're not following you just because of your music, but they're following you because of who you are, the things you do, and that will help grow your fan base outside of just the music itself. But also, it may also spread gospel music to a listener that was not listening to gospel music at all. So you got to kind of promote yourself and promote your brand as well as your music.
All right. So.
Yeah, it's definitely a different lane. Just like R&B is a different lane from the hip hop shows. That's the reason I started the R&B platform, and I'm very strict. It's strictly R&B. So going back to the gospel artists, I don't know if you sing or if you're like a hip hop gospel artist, but like if you sing, do some covers. You know what I'm saying? Even for R&B artists, I tell them all the time, if you do covers but slip your stuff in too, you know what I'm saying? You're pulling that audience. They want to hear you, especially if you can sing. You know, they're coming to your page because oh man, so-and-so can sing. And then next thing you know, you put your music up, you know, do some more covers, you know, but still pushing your stuff too. But yeah, the gospel industry is very hard. I had a friend that rapped gospel and he had a really, really, really hard time. And he ended up switching over to secular music. So I'm not an expert on the gospel lane because I do know it's harder. Like you said, the world has detached from God. So that's already the first fight in itself. But if you find that right platform, sometimes they are receptive. You know, for instance, my R&B platform, we actually have pretty much had church up in there. You know what I'm saying? Because it's R&B and it's R&B ties into that soul. You know what I'm saying? So you can slide it in. And we've done that before. And literally, like, I've watched the lounge literally turn into a sanctuary real quick. So you find that lane, you find that avenue where you can get in there and build your fan base. And, you know, it's a little harder, but that's all I got.
Mrs. Jones?
The same. Also, you know, when you write your music, you can go more on like conscious music. You can touch bases on real life situations and people out that don't believe in God or people that's outside of the church will be able to relate just as well as people that's in the church as well. Like So said, do covers to get them to come to your page. Take a cover that's out there and mix a little bit of a gospel song that's popular into the cover as well. So just be creative with it. Don't just shoot out. But I do want to say this because I've seen some gospel artists just like So said, she know an artist that pretty much changed over the genre. Don't forget who you are. That's the main thing I would say. Don't forget who you are trying to fit in with everybody else. So.
Yeah, that's important too. And I think you have to do the same things that a secular artist would do. So you still have to get on TikTok, and you still got to get on Triller. And there are ways. You know, you can still have a gospel song that has a beat that people want to dance to, and you can still create, you know, dances, and it can still be fun. You know, there's Kirk Franklin, and then there's Dietrich Haddon, and then there's different types of gospel. You know, the quartets. There's gospel is huge. So what type of gospel music are you creating? What's the vibe that, not just that you want people to get to know Christ, or that you want to fill people with the Holy Spirit, but that what do you want me to feel when I'm in the room? You know, are you singing something that's just supposed to make me cry? And if so, then your video needs to look like that, or whatever you're doing on social media should look like that. But like Mrs. Jones was saying, just getting creative and making sure that you're putting that energy into it, because it, just like the other artists, it takes more than talent. So I think, you know, you can't slide off in the gospel and say, all right, Jesus, I did it, let's work. Because that, you know, that's not how it works. You still got to do the work, and you still got to get out, you know, and do the weeding and till the fields until, you know, things start to harvest. So just everything that they've been saying for the other artists, apply that to you too, because it's still, you still got to do that.
I'm sorry. I was going to say, have you seen the Beulah Baptist, the new little group that's out now? They took over social media about a few weeks ago. They did Head Busters by Lil Scrappy. But they changed the words, we some head busters, we some head, they're singing it. And we'll knock you out for the Lord. And the leader put a weave up top that holds on the strength of God, because he has no hair. But that thing, and he slings it, and then he wore like a choir robe that was too small. The sleeves are up here, and the guy in the back, his sleeves up here, and the robe is at his knees. And he calls himself Pastor, and they're Baptist on Instagram. And they took social media just like that day they posted, over 5,000 views just like that. And wow. Every week they've come on Tuesdays and Sundays so far. And then they have a church service. But during that, they go back gospel. And then somewhere in the middle, they're going to do Head Busters again, because that's how they're known. And then they goes out again with gospel. So example of what you just said, using your social media the same way, and then it goes back to the covers that I was saying, and you put it together. And then, you know, like I said, the weave, everybody wants to know how his weave is holding on. Like, that's the topic.
Okay, there's another question.
It's okay outside? It looks okay? Mm-hmm. You happy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Should a manager pay for studio time? And if the manager does that make the manager a co-owner of the copyright?
Wow.
What was the question again?
So I guess the first part of the question, so this would just be yes or no. Should the manager pay for studio time?
It can sometimes. I don't think it should be an all the time thing. But if you can afford it, you know what I'm saying? Especially if you're just starting out, you can. And you can put that in to get that back. Once that money starts flowing in, you can definitely get your money back. So I would say yes. Just, it's a fine line. I've seen it where one was a manager, and she literally spent so much out. It was like she almost became the investor and did it wrong. So just be careful of how you do it. But I don't see anything wrong with that.
Okay, and then if the manager pays for studio time, do they now own some of the song? Or is that just a, hey, hold $100 and I'll get it back later type thing? How does that work?
I get it back later. Unless that manager pitched in some type of way with writing that song or the production of the way the song go, then that manager should not own the copyright. So unless y'all came to some type of agreement. That's what the artist said, but no.
Okay. I just wanted to read out this comment because I thought it was a very good point. Dominique Holland said, put in work, network with one person from each state, get them to post. That's a reach of 50 people in 50 states that have a mutual interest in you. That's pretty dope. IG groups and Facebook groups as well. Eric Doyle says, what should artists be doing about email lists or text lists to keep their audience engaged? Are these still a things? Do you still use email lists and text lists? And if you do, what are you doing right now during COVID to keep fans, engaged and looking forward to what the artist is doing?
Well, I would
I
say,
think
sorry. Okay, man.
I think that the email lists have a lower success rate. The text lists are doing a little bit better. If you are going to use them, you certainly want to be sending people links to your content. Not so much giving it. So if you have a YouTube post, you don't want to put the whole video in an email that you send somebody. You want to send them a link to bring them to your content. You want to let people know if you have any shows that are going on or anything that you have that you posted that you want them to know about. Um, I personally don't spend a lot of time music wise with email lists. I do a lot with it when I'm doing, nonprofit stuff. But as far as music, I don't really use the emails as much, but I do text lists to share content.
All right. John, welcome back. He's still not all the way back. Okay, So.
Okay, so the email blast, TJ's DJs, one of my mentors, he still does. If he, artists that he picks up from his weekly review session that he does, he'll do a blast. His artist Trap Beckham, he'll do a blast. B.O.B. he's done blast for Javi. And then there's an artist in Atlanta, her name is Nisha Nice. Nisha sends out a weekly newsletter. Sometimes it could just be tidbits like, hey guys, get a vision board. When the protests were going on, she sent out pictures showing us that she was at the protests and remember these names, Rayshard Brooks. She was just touching bases. Juneteenth, she dropped New Music Friday. And this was all in her newsletter. And it just like a quick little picture of her in front of the crowd, hey guys, it's Juneteenth, I'm dropping a New Music Friday. So it can help. It just keeps her name relevant, keeps her buzzing. And I don't think it's a bad thing, especially if you already have it set up and you have that fan base that's pretty large, why not keep it going?
Mm-hmm.
When you're trying to be an artist.
Don?
As far as the email and text list go, it's it really just depends on who your audience is. All of us like different shoes, all of us like different types of meals. So when it comes to it, if you got 10,000 Instagram followers or something like that, all of them don't like emails. All of them don't like text. But I feel like it's useful to use both of them, so that you can target those people in those areas.
Okay. Mrs. Jones?
I was just about to say the same thing John said. You have somebody like me who's older, and I check my email like I check social media because I don't want to miss anything that come in. I'm just business. So most of my business is dealt through email. And let's not forget about DMs and also Messenger, where we have like a lot of ways to reach people. Just for this webinar, at the last minute, I sent out DMs and quite a few people signed up just from that. Like, hey, how do I do it? Like, they didn't even have no awareness that anything was going on. So let's not forget about those platforms as well.
And I want to add something, because just being in radio, I'm an artist, so to say. So when I'm looking for a new job, sometimes I have to send my packet out, and my packet would include a bio, just like an artist, and an air check, just like an artist would send music. And what I've learned from some OGs in the game is that a lot of people don't click links, right? So if I put in my bio and a photo and a link to my air check, the likelihood of somebody clicking it and following it to another place to listen is really low. So I created a video that as soon as you open the email, it's there and it starts playing. So that's just a tidbit of information too. If you're sending out these email blasts, great, but try to avoid the link if possible. Put it right in the body of the email. So as soon as they open up the email, boom, there you are on their laptop. You've got their attention and hit them real quick so that they stay engaged. Because not everyone's going to follow the link and go to wherever it goes to see, what you have in the email. How can you break out of your local market other than cold calling, emailing, or adding them on social media? That question's from Shayla Watson.
Paid advertisement, just like we've been saying throughout the whole thing. Invest in yourself. Pay for your YouTube video to pop up in front of somebody else's video. Pay for your sponsored ad on Instagram to show up on somebody else that's not in your state on their timeline. So paid advertisement is one big way. Like one of the, I think his name was Dominique, he said in the chat, get with these groups. You have DM groups, you have Facebook groups, connect with these people. He made a good point when he said, talk to people in different states. So connect with that one person. They support you, you support them. You know, it is what it is.
All right. John Griggs, you want to weigh in on that?
My statement on that is networking and collaborative efforts. So for every one person should always count as two people. So if you're trying to break out of your local market, you need to just hit up these Facebooks, Twitters, Instagrams, find somebody who has a style you like, or just find somebody that's like a state away and be like, oh, this you do this in music, or you do this and this, and do something together, something that benefits both of you. So that way when you advertise it, now it's like, well, I don't know who that is, but I know who this is, so I'm going to pay attention to it. The objective is to make sure you know as many people in as many different areas. So as long as you can contact somebody and get some work done with that person, people advertise their own selves. So you need to just do collaborative work with other people.
All right, So
again, I came to Greenville, South Carolina to break out of Atlanta, just myself. And then after that, I brought the show, right? So at the show, each show, I create a group chat for each artist, the artists that are performing. So they, like right now, my phone blows up every day just because those group chats are still going. And this show has been going for 2 years now. So they're constantly networking. I do producer battles as well at this show. So I've seen some of the producers from Greenville working with Atlanta. I've had people come from Augusta to the Greenville show. Like when I say I've seen so many collabs going on, and like next thing I know, I might be on social media and I just see like two people that had no clue of each other together doing something. There's my photographer from the show. Like he literally comes to Atlanta. Anything he sees that I'm gonna be at publicly, he's like there with his camera, just snapping. And I'm like, what the heck? But he's even benefited, you know what I'm saying? And he got to meet like Pastor Troy. Like last month, I did a pool party and he showed up. Like literally, he didn't even know the curator of the party, but he was there and he ended up talking to Pastor Troy. They worked out him shooting a video. So again, you have to sometimes, if you can afford it, especially, go to the next town. You know, Greenville is 2 hours from Atlanta. Atlanta's 2 hours from Greenville. Put your weed money in your gas tank, you know what I'm saying, and pull up at a show and network. You know, again, when you're at these shows, don't just stare at each other. You know, what's up, bro? My name's such and such. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes that's all it takes. You know what I mean? Networking, again, relationships are everything.
all right, Kimani.
Yeah, and I agree. Right now, you know, especially with COVID, using those promotional tools to promote in that other area is really strong suit of what we've been using. Definitely working with other artists from other areas so that y'all sharing each other's music and networking in that way. I definitely agree with John on that. That's been one thing that we've tried our best to do. And share and work with other people. I know a lot of artists, it's the big head and don't want to work with other artists, but really that's the best way to get your music out there and into a different areas to work with different.
Okay. And then another thing that I would like to add is there are a lot of times like networking events, and there are a lot of radio networking events. And artists show up, and a lot of times it's only like one or two of them. And it'll be a whole lot of radio personalities, a whole lot of programmers, some operations managers, just people high up in these urban radio companies that you need to know your name, that you need to shake hands with, need to make familiar with you. And there will be one artist that is performing that has come from a record label, but then there will be like one or two independent artists that have somehow made their way to this event, and because all you have to do is buy a ticket. But when you see it's a radio event, most artists, for whatever reason, don't think like that. But some artists come and they hand out business cards, and they're sometimes able to perform live right there. They just get out and they shake hands with these high up people. So yes, work on your fan base. Yes, get the followers on social media. But if you can get into a room where you can shake hands with programmers and get them to play your songs on radio, or if you got your song playing on the radio, you're already kind of ahead of the game, because then people can go to Spotify and find out who you are and trace you like that. So don't knock out your networking abilities in other places too. You know, not just showcases and not just social media, but find other things that are going on. When the BET Hip Hop Awards are happening, wherever they're at, you need to be. Get a team together, hand out some flyers, be standing on a corner with a portable speaker. Just, you should be, if you can't be in the room, be outside the door. So if you can't get into the BET Awards, you still should be somewhere, you know, where all of that is going on, because you never know whose hand you'll shake or who you'll end up running into during that time. So whether it be the Hip Hop Awards or the Grammys, just, you got to do the work. So just a little bit of advice there. Just get a van. These dates are already scheduled way in advance. You know, call and get your rental and drive across the country if you have to. But just putting the work in. You know, a lot of times just being hungry enough sometimes will be the thing that changes things for you. And getting out there and doing that too, not just the social media work and the cyber work, but the footwork as well. Mm-hmm. Another question, this is a question for the managers, I guess, from someone who's in management. Dopey Supreme says, what are your techniques when scheduling promotional or performance engagement for clients? Mm-hmm. Mrs. Jones, okay.
Now, I would say that, like we mentioned at the beginning, we have like a calendar set up. You know, well, I do have a calendar set up, and so we base everything according to what we schedule. But I wouldn't say there's no strict technique, because each artist is a different situation, and that's where it comes back to looking at the analytics and as far as like when is the best time to post for this particular artist, or when is the best time they need to post. Female may like them more, or male may like them more. So not a specific way to target an audience for each artist there is that you work with. Is different.
Okay. Kimani?
I think for now it's basically, we use like a Google Calendar setup, where everybody gets their dates and where they're supposed to be, studio times and everything. But we still have to have somebody call the day before, the day of, to make sure people get where they're supposed to be. I don't think that there's any one thing, like Mrs. Jones just said, there's no one thing that works for everybody, no one size fits all. But the harassment call seems to be the one that works best for us, to keep guys from being late to where they're supposed to be, because everything else they seem to know how to shut it off.
All right, John Griggs, how about you?
Basically just agreeing with what Ms. Jones and what Keith said as well. The harassment call thing, I'm repetitive, consistently repeating everything. If something happens Friday, I'm repeating it Sunday through Thursday, so that we know, even on Friday, that this is what's going on. It's a calendar set up, it's a Google calendar, so you also know what's going on, but people do tend to forget. So like I said, being repetitive of how he said, the harassment of it, I think it's necessary, but it's also like what he said, it's not a one size fits all. What works for some may not work for others.
All right, so
yeah, it's pretty much the same.
So Eric Doyle asks, what is better, Spotify or Apple Music playlists to gain more traction? So you want to take that one?
For me, my artist has been, for the independent artists, it's been Spotify. I did have like a long list of curators, and I literally just emailed out, submitted whatever I needed, and I went through them, and I noticed his Spotify numbers were way higher than his Apple numbers. So part of that is me too. I do need to flip back and do the same thing with Apple. But I just pushed hard through the Spotify playlist and making relationships with some of the curators, and it worked. And then another thing that we did too. You know, with Javi being on the label, we were able to actually get him added to their playlist as well. So it kind of, you know, helped him again on the Spotify side like that.
Okay. Mrs. Jones?
Yeah, I would say Spotify, like I mentioned earlier, Spotify #2 when it comes to music, promoting music or having music out there. Most people listen to Spotify. You would think Apple Music is a way because a lot of us have iPhones and hey, Siri, play such and such. You would think it would be, but that's not the case. It is Spotify because of a lot of playlists out there. So yes.
Okay. John Griggs, you want to add anything to this one?
I think it just depends on the curators, to be honest. So my artist actually has a lot more Apple success than Spotify. The Spotify playlists are definitely helpful, but I also look at like what Ms. Jones said. A lot of people have iPhones, so they have Apple Music. Like me personally, I don't have Spotify, so even with my artist being on the Spotify playlist, I can't really listen to him on the Spotify playlist because I don't have Spotify. But that's where the curators come in, like watching to see how many people go through their playlist, like monthly or quarterly and things like that. Because now you can decide or you can pivot and based on what you know information wise. I'll go to the Spotify curator if I feel like they can help me out, or I'll just go to the Apple curator for Apple playlists when I feel like that's gonna be beneficial for me.
Okay. Kimani, anything to add?
I wanted to say this real quick. Don't forget about SoundCloud, everybody. Forget about that major platform. Go ahead, Kimani.
No, nothing to add. Sorry, I was playing with trying to get this mute button and drive at the same time.
Driving comes first.
You got it?
Uh-oh. Hope we didn't
Well,
take
I'm
the L.
sorry. I was saying nothing to add. I'm sorry.
All right. Okay, let me see if we have any other questions. All right, I think that's it for the questions. 7:52, so we're like 8 minutes out. I guess I want to thank you all for allowing me to moderate this. I learned a lot here from all of you, so definitely thank you for having me. Again, for those of you who are just coming on, I'm Beezy Baby, former radio personality. I'm still a radio personality, television personality, author, a whole lot of other stuff. You can find me everywhere at Beezy Baby, beezybaby.com, and it's spelled the same way it's written here. You guys want to go down the panel, introduce yourselves again, let everybody know what you do, where they can find you. Are you looking? Because we don't want your DM blowing up with 1 million artists and you're not even looking for any. So let them know if you're looking for artists, and if you're not, kind of, you know, push them in the direction of someone who may be.
Well,
my name is John. My bad.
Go ahead, John. John can't see. Let's let John go first.
Yeah.
My name is John Griggs. Like I said, I'm a manager from Mississippi, but I live in Atlanta. I work with an artist named Josh Waters and a producer named Hood Music. You can contact me at that's_Griggs on Instagram or Twitter. I am not looking for people to manage. However, I'm looking for people to link up with my producer. So if you feel like you would be great over any of the tracks he has, contact me. We'll send you over a pack tonight.
How can they hear? Is there a place that they can go to listen to the music without connecting with you? Like maybe can they go to his Instagram and hear something, or is there a website?
You go to my bio and you'll see his contact at Hood_Music. And in his bio, there's a link to see all the beat tapes that he's placed up. So you can hear tracks that he does in that nature. His beat tapes are a representation of things that he just wants people to see what he can do. But the actual packs or tracks that he would want artists to hear, you would have to contact him. And that's only because he doesn't want to have like all the same beats up online. He doesn't want to lease tracks. He really wants to just give people their own individual tracks.
Okay, so Hood_Music, check out some samples of some work he's done. And if you're interested in talking to him further, you can send a DM to Mr. John Griggs or Hood_Music, correct?
Right.
All right, So.
Hey, John, how does he spell music? Is it M-U-S-I-C?
It's hood_MUSIK.
Okay, I'm putting it in the chat for you.
Thank you.
No
That
problem.
was good because we would have sure been musicking the right way.
Right, because I had it typed and I was like, let me double check this.
All right.
Okay, so yeah, you can follow me on everything. SoSotheplug, spelled grammatically correct. My Instagram has an underscore, but it'll come up. You'll see it. SoSotheplug _. SoSotheplug.com. You can follow Big Javi, BIGHAVI, or my other artist DRick _IM DRick, and I'll put it in the chat as well. We're constantly working. I'm not looking for anybody new right now. However, I don't mind helping. That's why they call me SoSotheplug, because I'm known to just help people. And I don't mind that because there's enough for everybody to win. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day. And I'd rather see you win than be taken advantage of. So if I can help in any way, I definitely will.
Mrs. Jones.
All right, you can follow me, your artist consultant, the way it's spelled on IG. On Facebook is Shamele Jones. Everybody call me Mrs. Jones, so either way. And then real life music is at real life music _. And I'm currently not looking for any artists to manage. Like I stated, I just started back doing it. So, and do I know anybody looking at this time? No, not at the moment. But of course, I have your artist consultant, and I'm here to help in any way. Just shoot me any questions that you may have, or you can email me if you have any questions at yourartistconsultant@gmail.com.
All right. And I am correcting it's Hood Music Beats.
It's Hood Music Beats. I messed that up.
Yeah. So I'm putting that in there now. So it's at Hood Music Beats. Thank you, Dominique, for letting me know. So I looked it up. Is there any other questions? Anything else? We got 3 minutes left. So we're trying to take it all the way to the end. Did anybody not get a chance to ask a question that they needed to know? Is there anything that you're kind of dealing with and you don't know how to figure it out on your own? These people are here to help. They've definitely got the experience and they're willing to help. So if you didn't get your question out now, we still got a couple seconds, or you can always DM them. They all seem really open to responding to DMs and helping however they can. Kimani is off screen, but you can also reach out to him as well. Anything else you guys want to add before we go?
This is Kimani. The only thing I would like, BZ, if you or Ms. Jones can share all of the panelists' contact information with us so that we can get in contact with each other, and maybe share the social media links with the people that were on. That would be helpful because some of us was driving. It was difficult. It's difficult to write down contact information.
Okay, so point taken. Mrs. Jones will get that to you definitely.
Yeah.
We do have one more question. What are your suggestions for artists? And that's a good one to end on. What are your suggestions for artists trying to push their music during this pandemic? I'm gonna go first, and then I'm gonna hand it down to you guys. It's a hustle, right? So you've got to be a hustler. Just having talent is not going to be enough. So the same way you would get out in the streets and hand out flyers at parties, you can't do that now, but you can put out content, make sure you're hashtagging, make sure you're getting a hold of those curators, like they said, and putting your music there, doing what you got to do on Spotify and Apple Music. I mean, people are even putting up billboards. Like they have blips, BLIP, I think it's called. If you Google it, you can literally, your budget can be $10. That could be all you have. And you can go up on a billboard for $10. Like they'll help you put it together and everything. It's not a lot, but that's a way. You know, maybe you want to get your face out in Florence, but you're from Colombia. So you buy a blip in Florence that just shows your face and your music and where they can find you at. That's a way. Ms. Jones, what do you say?
The same thing, like just keep pushing, like be consistent, think of creative ways to come up with content, start vlogging, just be consistent, go live. It's just think outside of the box.
All right, so
Yeah, same thing. Just stay active. You know, respond back to messages, interact with your crowd, basically. That's just the best way to put it. Interact with your followers, let them know you're still there. You know, it's okay to go live. If you're in the studio, maybe go live during your studio session for a few minutes. Let them see how you work, what you're doing, what you're coming up with. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes put a poll out. Hey guys, what you want to hear next? You know, you want me to do this, you want me to do that, you know. Just
Oh, John Griggs is back. Did you hear that question? The question was, what are your suggestions for artists trying to push their music during this pandemic? Oh, he's moving in slow motion.
Two words. Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, y'all can hear me now? We good?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, good. Be consistent and be creative. Be consistent because you won't get a win every day. But also be creative because it's 100,000 million people putting music out every day. You want to, granted it may sound similar, but you want to present it to the audience in a way that is like, I want to go get it. Like if you want to put your music over a meme, if you want to create a nice video or something, be consistent and be creative. That way people are drawn to the product that you're putting out.
And it's okay to hop on fads. You know, if there's something that's hot, you know, like this Chinese guy has gone viral for saying 1, 2, 3. He's like singing the numbers. You know, like hop onto something that's gone viral. If it's funny and everybody's talking about it, jump in. Because you might be the next thing to go viral, or even if you might get other people that see, maybe pop up on the Explore page because you got different people viewing it. So don't be afraid, you know, to do something that seemingly is the wave right now. If it's gonna catch you, you know, some other people to view your page or your story. Kimani?
Pretty much what everybody said. Be consistent with posting your music. Don't be afraid to comment on other artists' posts as well. Giving your opinion and sometimes even sharing information about yourself on other artists' posts on social media. Definitely anything you can do video-wise that you can release so people can continue to see your image. Not just posts, but actual videos and stuff as well. I think Mrs. Jones talked earlier today about having high quality photos and high quality posts, not just selfies and stuff, but making sure that you have the photographer come over to your house and take some good photos so that you can post some high quality content. I think those are really the things that you can do right now, along with what everybody else said.
All right. Thank you all for all of the information. I know I appreciated it. So I'm sure everyone else watching appreciated it as well. Mrs. Jones, handing it back over to you.
Yes, thank you to everybody for joining in, and thank you, panelists, for coming on at the last minute. I literally asked all y'all within a month, can you come on to this Let's Talk Music Business? So I appreciate you all. And thank you again to all that tuned in. Make sure you take a picture of the screen and that you was on here. Tag all of us so we can repost it. And that's it. Everybody can have a wonderful night. And thank you again.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.